Hey there, Average Joes. Welcome back to the Eternal Struggle. I am your average host, JayMang. Today, I'm once again joined by my taller than average co-host, TallSharkandHandsome. How you doing today, Shark?
I am great. I took today off of work and did some papers that I probably should have done earlier. And I don't know, it's just been a great day. How about you?
Well, I just got back from seeing Shazam with my father, and I gotta say that that was probably the best DC movie that's been released in a while. It was very good. I very much enjoyed it. I think they're finally starting to learn that they need to just copy Marvel.
Wait, Shazam?
Yeah, Shazam. You don't know about Shazam, sir?
I have absolutely no idea. Isn't that like the movie with Shaquille O'Neal?
You fucking little shit.
I honestly have no idea.
No, you're thinking of Kazam.
Uh,
And Shazam is a superhero that's kind of similar to Superman in the DC universe, even though like they already have Superman. But like Shazam, okay, I don't want to spend too long on this, but Shazam actually used to be called Captain Marvel way back in the day. And then the rights to the name Captain Marvel got sold to Marvel and he became Shazam after that. So he's just
so
basically
fucking
another
weird.
super being that exists in the DC universe that does pretty much most of the things that Superman does.
Weird. All right,
The
cool.
biggest difference, I will say, is that it's a young boy that turns into an adult.
As you do,
Yeah,
eventually.
but anyways, definitely go check it out. I can't. We are barely into this episode and we're already off the rails. Okay,
Welcome.
so Shark, tell me about your week in Eternal.
Oh man, so for my weekend eternal, I had a blast playing rats. I did the ECQ on stream actually, so I'm sure that somebody sniped me, but but
You
no,
lied last week.
I lied. I know. Last week I said I wasn't going to do it, but then I was home. I didn't really have anything else to do. Mrs. Shark was out of the house. I was like, you know what, fuck it. And so I did. I went and did. I did reasonably well. I was 14-9 at one point,
That's
maybe
pretty
maybe
decent.
14-10, and then I just like lost the rest of them in a row. So I ended up like 15-13 or something. I don't know. It ended up being not great, but I felt pretty good with the deck, especially not having it had as much practice as batteries or any of the other people playing it.
Mm.
It was still super fun, and there's a whole bunch of brews that came out of that tournament, and I mean that's going to be our next topic, so I'll stop there. But Jay, how was your week in Eternal?
So I definitely played more Eternal this week than I have been lately, but still not what I would quantify as a whole lot of Eternal. But all I've been playing is Rats, and that deck is so fun. Like it is reignited the interest in the game for me. I think that there's more out there for me to explore, especially the brew of the week at the end here, which is something that seems very fun to me, and it's a style of deck that I've been wanting to craft for a while. But Rats has been very, very fun. There's a lot of play to it that you don't realize until you're playing the deck. And there's actually a couple different builds out there too, which I think is really sweet. It's a very, very cool deck. And I'm glad that you played in the ECQ and that you played on stream and you enjoyed yourself. I actually like I I wish I could have played in it, but we went out and got pictures of the JB done on Sunday. And I gotta say, the pictures are fucking adorable, and my son is the cutest boy in the world.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So, quick rundown for the listeners. What our topics today will be is we're going to go over the ECQ results because it is a new meta, and this is a pretty good indicator of maybe the direction that the meta is going for now. We're going to talk about the upcoming competitive schedule and recent Direwolf Digital announcements, which is a very nice surprise. Um, I'm going to talk, which you should listen as I'm probably going to rant a little about collusion. I shouldn't say rant. I'm going to defend myself about something that I had made a post about on Reddit that it seems like not a lot of people agreed with me by downvoting the shit out of me. And then to round out our topics, we're going to talk about power management and deck building and deck tuning, which was suggested to us by one of our very close followers, Onyx Ghost.
What a good guy.
And then we'll finish off with our brew of the week, brewski of the week, and streamer of the week.
Awesome. Let's hop into it.
All right. So our first topic is the ECQ results, which had quite a surprising, maybe a surprising turnout, as far as not so surprising what first place got, but this top eight's a little interesting. So it was won by Popotito playing Genève Peaks, which is, it's pretty much your normal Genève Peaks deck. Like it looks very similar to what we were seeing before the expansion dropped. And I mean, I'm not surprised. I believe that I mentioned when we were talking about the Zo nerf is that I think that the Genève Peaks deck was the least likely to be affected by the Zo nerf because it makes sense that the deck would be able to still cast Zo.
Yeah. I think that the Genève Peaks deck that Popotito is running is awesome. It's well thought out. The coolest thing, in my opinion, is that it has 2 banners in the market because he knows that he's or she. I don't know if Popotito is a boy or girl, whatever. But they know that Joe is going to be put into the market, and you're going to get him back. You're going to put him in there. You're going to get him back. You're going to put him in there, get him back. And so, in the early turns, when you're getting rid of this Joe, you want to get the right power. Or if you don't, then you go and get something that you're going to be playing later, like a Caleb, either Caleb's Choice for defense or one of these big heavy units.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I like the idea of having the 2 power because that helps guarantee that the deck does stay on curve, which is very important for this deck to be consistent. So, I mean, I don't really have much else to say about that. Like, it's not too surprising that a Peaks deck ended up winning to me.
Yeah. What is surprising though is the second place deck, which is Feln.
like control Feln or
Feln control. Yes, it's
wow.
it's running Carrington Merchants, Varas, Champion of Cunning, and Black Sky Harbinger. Those are the only units that it's got. And everything else is designed to kill your opponent or draw cards.
I wonder why. So, like, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but this isn't actually the only Feln deck that made top 64. I wonder what specifically about the current meta makes Feln so good. Is it possible that, like, Ixchen decks are weak to it? I'm not sure.
It could be. It could be that it's pretty good against the rat. The Black Sky Harbinger gets rid of all the rats if they don't have the pump spells.
Oh, that's true.
It's not as good. I mean, the Vara's Favors kill rats. The Carrington Merchant can just block a rat and die, and that's fine. Also, this deck is running in Cold Blood, so any Justice unit, any Vargos or whatever. Well, I guess not Vargos.
Yeah, I was to say it can't hit Vargo, but it does hit pretty much. Well, I mean, it hits everything else. So
yeah, deck is
makes
cool.
sense.
But deck is cool. It's definitely in an interesting place. Though beyond that I think is where I'm more excited about the turnout.
All right, take us right into it.
Because the 2 people who are tied for fourth, well, third and fourth, would be Jez, who is a teammate of mine. Jez 2718. He is on Ixton Peaks with Shelterwing Riders, Nostrix. Just like a crazy hodgepodge of just like big, strong, heavy hitters with some, removal and fixing.
Okay, so I just want to pause on this deck for a second because this is a very unique Ixchen deck. Like, number one, it chooses to play the Peaks and not the new Palace. And I know that everybody is very, very big on Palace right now, but so when I look at this deck, it looks like this deck could have just existed before the changes. Like the only new card in it is it does play one palace that's in the market. So like it's very very interesting to me that a deck like this, is it possible that it's a meta call because people are starting to play less Varas?
That very well could be. I mean, Sheltering Rider was I saw that all over the place in the tournament in the top 64. We'll get into that more, but I will expect to see more Varas coming up here shortly. This deck is super cool. Jez is a cool dude. Definitely try that deck out.
Okay, so what's our other fourth?
The other one is Rats by Collector. He is running the same Rat Cage deck that I was talking about from last week that Batteries have been working on, except now it runs Teacher of Humility. Teacher of Humility is super important because it's an early unit that will either eat removal so that your Lethrai Courtiers don't eat removal, or if it hits your opponent, it creates a relic, which if you have a Rat Cage out, gets you another rat, or if you have some other relic out, it has some kind of a bonus. So it's a lot of people are like, oh, it's crazy that you just put this crazy powerful legendary in there and it's a better deck, but no, it actually fits the theme of making relics.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And honestly, like to be honest right now, are you that surprised that Rats made top 8? Because I felt like this deck's power level was high enough that as long as enough people would play the deck, that it would make its way up there.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not surprised that it made top 8. I'm excited that it made top 8.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's same. Like I'm glad it made top 8 because it definitely deserves it. It's a very unique deck that still can exist in a world with Boar.
Oh yeah, for sure. And because you want to play that Bizarre Stampede, get all your units huge, then it doesn't matter if they bore you. Like whatever, who cares?
Yeah, for sure.
Super cool deck. Definitely try that one out. It takes a little getting used to, but it's really cool.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and blow right through the other 4 decks that were in the top 8. So all 4 decks were various versions of Horu. So in this world where everybody feels like or acts like we should be playing 3 colors, there is a very popular and very, very powerful 2-color deck. Now, let's be honest, it's because Palace exists, and Palace is a very powerful card. But, so the 4 different Horu decks, there were 3 different versions. So, there was a Horu Savagery deck, so that's kind of like a Aegis Renown playing Savagery style killers Horu deck. And then there was a Horu Flyers, which shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that's been playing ladder rate lately. And then there were 2 Horu Control, which is another not very surprising, takes advantage of a handful of new cards, especially the weapon that becomes free when at low life.
I know, so cool.
Yeah, I know that it takes advantage of that, but I don't want to spend really a whole lot of time on that, because I would like to go ahead and move to the pie chart that we have become so accustomed to during top 64. And I have to say right off the bat, for those who are listening, this pie and not watching, this pie chart looks so much better than the last few ECQs. It looks much more diverse. There's a lot more different decks out here, and less of the meta is taken up by the usual suspects. So right off the bat, the 3 most popular decks that we can see on this chart is FJS is still the most popular deck at 11. Well, okay, I can't say most because Geneve's been the most popular lately, but I actually think that the FJS decks were being played to combat Horu because FJS still has a pretty decent Horu matchup from what I understand. I may not be correct in that, but there were 11 copies making up 17% of the meta. And then Geneve and Horu Flyers make up 14% each. And then after that, we have a very large hodgepodge of like 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1-ofs.
Yeah. What's really interesting to me is that this pie chart it's got some great divisions in there, but if you look at it by the colors, mid control, mid, and aggro mid all put together, they're all just basically mid-range decks of different variances, but they take up all but 12.5% of the entire top 64. So there were 12.5% of the decks were aggro or control, and it's split in half. It's just baffling.
Yeah, so I don't know if part of that has to do with, I think just the style of play of Eternal is very creature oriented. So it's really hard to have a true control deck. And then also the power creep of units once you get to like 4 cost tends to like skyrocket. So like true aggro decks are really hard to quote unquote exist. I think that it may be a situation where it's just really hard to define where a deck lies, because I think that there's a good portion of FJS decks that I personally would call control decks. Same thing with Genev Peaks decks, even though they have very large creatures. Most of the time you're trying to just survive until you hit your late game. And I tend to feel like, depending on what you're playing, of course, like that's more of a control oriented thinking. So I mean, I think it's just really difficult to define these decks.
Yeah. So it could be just like like the 87% of the decks being labeled as mid could just be a problem with the labeling. But I mean, yeah, that definitely makes sense. That makes much more sense.
Yes. All right. So let's move on.
Get back to the next one. Yeah.
So topic 2 is going to be about upcoming competitive schedule and DWD announcements. So, at the beginning of the, I believe it was at the beginning of the top 64, Dire Wolf showed a slide that contained all of the events that leading up to the ECQ showdown. So we have ECQ number 6 has been announced already, which is something that we've been complaining about, and I know pretty much everybody else has been complaining about for a while now. And I love that they have done this, because now I have put it in my calendar. I know when the ECQ is. I don't have to worry about it. It is on May 3rd through the 5th for everybody that's listening. And so like mark it in your calendars, take your time off, and hopefully ECQ number 6 has a really good turnout. I want Direwolf to get rewarded for doing things that the players have been asking for. I haven't been able to make the last 2 ECQs because I haven't been able to plan far enough ahead, because I'm a little bit of a planner, so I like to plan things out a couple weeks in advance. And when they're giving me 1 week notice, oh, well, shit, I already have something planned that weekend. So
that's what you get for being a planner.
I'm sorry.
Just do things by the seat of your pants, like I do.
Yeah. But real quick, I will also run down the other 3 announcements they made. So the Masters Challenge for the draft. So that is everybody that has made like top 100 from the time that they started tracking that. I forget what month it was, but they will have that play through May 18th and 19th. So I'm not actually sure. Are these people going to draft against each other, or are they playing constructed? Do you know?
I feel like it's going to be a draft. I don't know if they're going to be drafting against each other, or if they're going to be drafting just regular and then they play against each other. But it's an interesting thought. Yeah. So all the people who've made it in the top 100s Masters for the past however many months that they've done it are going to be playing in this challenge, and it's going to be really, really cool to see. I have not yet made it into either one of those.
Yeah, neither have I. So the following weekend will be the Masters Challenge for Ranked, which is May 25th and 26th. And going along with what you had just said, for the first 2 or 3 months, I tried to grind out top 100. I'm just so busy. It's so hard to break through that like 100 barrier, because like I can get to like 120 if I try, but then like after that it's a slog to get through that point, because by the time you get to like 120, 130, every win you're going up only like 3 or 4 ranks. So that's
every loss you're going down like 5, 6, 7.
Exactly. 10. It's a slog, and I just don't have the time to grind for that. And I feel like that's part of the what separates me from the grinders, is that I just don't have the time or commitment to do something like that. But the last announcement was they're having the ECQ showdown, which is June 1st through 2nd. And I am going to try to make the push for this by hopefully at ECQ number 6 getting enough points to qualify me for that. I have 2 points right now, which is not a lot. So I think the best way to give myself a chance into doing this is top 8ing ECQ number 6. So what I'm saying is the goal is to win, but if I can't, at least top 8.
It's a good goal. Good to have goals. My goal is to watch all 3 of those big tournaments. All 4 of them, actually. I don't usually watch these big tournaments and stuff just because, I never plan ahead, and so I'm usually busy or something. But it was super fun watching the ECQ, even if I missed a couple of matches here and there. It was really cool because there was 2,000 people watching. The entire Eternal community was watching, basically.
Yeah, I will say that I think that I am starting to transition into the kind of person that enjoys watching more. So maybe I'll try to volunteer here in the future to do commentating, because I feel like maybe that would be something more enjoyable for me, since my competitive drive for playing kind of waxes and wanes, depending on the game. Right now, I feel like I'm enjoying watching Eternal more than I am playing Eternal. And with Magic, I'm enjoying playing more than watching. And I feel like just 3 or 4 months ago, it was the opposite. I was enjoying playing Eternal, not that I didn't watch Eternal, but I was enjoying playing Eternal and then watching Magic. So
yeah, for sure.
It just kind of flip-flops.
It was really fun watching. There's something that I wanted to mention that I forgot about until just now. But while we were watching the ECQ, there was a bot in the chat called helpful_doorbot. So cool. It was so cool. I loved this thing. It was just telling a bunch of Eternal robot jokes or Eternal jokes. Some of them got a little risque, something that you would probably hear on what it was described as something you would hear on network television. It was a bot that was not created by Direwolf.
Interesting.
It was a bot that was created by Poetic Discord, also known as Alpacalypse on Reddit.
Oh, fucking great. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
It was super cool. I mean, Alpacalypse can be a little rough on Discord to deal with, because posting on Reddit is like a soapbox for him to stand on. But I really enjoyed him in chat. I like Poetic Discord. It's like they're 2 different people to me.
Yeah,
I really like him in chat, and that this bot that he's making is super fun. Just tells a bunch of jokes. He tried it out and everybody was loving it, and then a couple of people were like, "Oh, that joke was too hard, too bad," and then eventually it got banned. But
so I will make a really quick aside about Alpacalypse. I think that they are very, very passionate about the game. Totally. I may cover this a little bit in the next topic, but I don't appreciate that they seem to want to stir the pot all the time. I think that their passion for the game is all over the place. They are trying to do good for the community, which I can see. I'm not blind. I know that they are trying to put out positive to the community, but also sometimes I think that willingness to try and put the stuff out there also shows their bias towards certain things, and can be a negative, inciting witch hunts and stuff like that. But I won't get too much into that.
Right. Yeah. I can definitely agree. He does a lot of cool, great things for the community, tracking percentages for his opening packs. He's at 6,500 right now or something crazy like that. I don't know. But there are some times where I'm like, okay, man, cool it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I before we get too far off topic, I just wanted to say that, because I think that I wish that since they were so passionate about the game, if they could just divert that to be all positives and not focus on the negatives, that would be really nice.
Yeah, I can see that.
But they are who they are, and I can't control what they do or think. So real quick, I wanted to say they also teased that Set 6 is going to be called Dark Frontier, and they're saying that it is coming sooner than you think.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. So is this possibly an indicator that they are going to try to ramp up release schedule?
That could possibly be. I think the coolest thing to me was the picture that they posted with that. I don't know if you have a copy of that, but I think I took a screenshot.
I had it, but I didn't put it in the show notes, so I can't bring it up real quickly. But it does show, for our listeners at the very least, it does show a new Radiant.
Yes. So let me pull that up. I'll just put it up in front of my camera.
We are high
budget here.
Budget.
This looks really cool. It looks like they're in the Shadowlands. There's all these different peaks in the background, and there's this new Radiant who looks pretty badass, if I do say so myself. Not sure who he is, but
I believe that Direwolf teased something along the lines of it's like Azendel's not the only very powerful Radiant out there, so possibly a new antagonist.
Definitely. Maybe it's just Becky. Beckoning Lumen.
But so is this and so between the announcements and the talk of having a new set coming soon, like, is this a possible indicator that they're finally listening and trying to be more vocal with the community?
Yeah, that could be. I really appreciate that they did all these different announcements in slides for the ECQ. I thought that was a really nice touch. They weren't just like posting on Reddit. It was just like, here you go. It's run of the mill, like whatever. We're just going to post it here. It felt very natural, and anybody who was paying attention got that information, which was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I hope that they continue this trend, and hopefully the whole like early set release isn't out of what's the word I'm looking for? Like panic. Like, I hope that they are doing it because they feel like this is a necessary move to keep the growth of the game going, and not necessarily we have to do this because we think the game is going to die if we don't. A lot of people have been complaining because we're halfway through a cycle, and I can understand, and I agree. Like, I think the game will be a lot more interesting once Set 6 is out, assuming that Set 6 is going to give us the other half of the cycle. They could do the same thing that Magic did, and they just don't. Like, they did one half of the cycle and then like didn't do the other half for like something like 7 years.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I hope that they don't do that as well. And that might be why they say it's coming sooner than you think. But I have actually heard other people complaining about that. They're like, well, I'm still, grinding to get through the last set. Like, this one's coming too soon. I don't have time to, get all the legendaries. I'm like, just play the game.
Or, I don't know, spend money on the game. Like,
yeah, if you really love this game, support the devs. I have spent money in this game. I have the ability to. Some people don't have the ability to. Some people are a little younger. Maybe they don't have a credit card, or maybe they just don't have a job, or their job doesn't pay enough. For, whatever the reason is, they can't purchase. But like, if you have the means to, rather than going and buying a couple of booster packs of Magic cards, maybe buy some gems and do some extra drafting, or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I think that complaining about set releases coming out too quickly is
silly.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, I hope they ramp it up because that helps keep the game fresher. Like, they don't necessarily have to do the like 4 full sets a year like Magic does, but like 3 full sets with like intervening like campaigns and promo cards, like that should be enough to keep the meta fresh often enough for people to be satisfied.
For sure.
Okay, so let's move on to the third topic, which is collusion.
I'll go through. I'll say exactly what happened, and then I'll let you get on your soapbox and yell at people.
Okay.
So Neon Blonde was disqualified from the ECQ for attempting matchmaking manipulation. He made a statement He was punished accordingly. He apparently asked somebody if they would, I think it was in Discord or something. He was like, "Hey, do you want to try hopping into into the matchmaking and then concede to me?" So because I'm like pretty close to winning, like to being in the top 64 or whatever, and that was enough to get him disqualified for the matchmaking manipulation. And Jay will let you talk about what the collusion is and isn't in the competitive card game, and more specifically, the Eternal environment.
Okay, so I want to preface what I'm about to talk about that what I'm about to talk about has nothing to do on whether or not any examples I give would be viewed as ethical or not. I simply want to talk about whether or not these examples are collusion in the eyes of Direwolf Digital and perhaps some other card games, because I will be using some Magic examples perhaps. But this is purely by definition. This has nothing to do with how ethical it is. I think the reason a lot of people were not happy with what I said on Reddit is because they were taking it as though...
Wait, what did you say on Reddit?
Okay, so on Reddit, I said that asking for a concession from somebody without offering anything in return is not collusion.
Correct.
Which I'll get to what exactly collusion is and isn't, but that's what I said, and it was viewed pretty negatively. Fairly negatively. It wasn't like super negative, like I didn't have like 100 downvotes, but it was very obvious that like people disagreed with me, and I think that people were thinking that I was coming from I feel like that's a very acceptable or normal habit to have, and I'm simply
right. That wasn't an opinion; that was a fact.
Yeah, I was stating a fact, not an opinion. And that's really what it comes down to. So quickly, I want to talk about what exactly collusion is by the definition of Direwolf Digital. And the line that they have on collusion says, and I quote, "Collusion is strictly forbidden. Players may not manipulate matchmaking during asynchronous play or concede in exchange for anything during any phase of the event." So, for a very like basic example would be, I get matched up against Shark, and then I say, "Shark, I'll give you $5 if you concede to me." That is,
girl, I'm worth more than $5.
Exactly. I'm sorry. You are worth like a lot more. You're a high dollar whore. But like, so that's a very like basic example of it. Like that's me offering something for the concession. And then like another good example is the Neon situation, because it's matchmaking manipulation is when you purposefully have somebody cue into you for the reason of fixing a match. And so I'm at no point, I don't know if anybody got this impression, at no point am I defending what Neon did. But also it would be very nice if, so we should definitely not be happy that Neon did that, but also I think that Neon's done a lot of good. So like, can we give the guy another chance? But anyway,
right, so he made a mistake. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel about the situation. But what collusion is not, by definition, is asking an opponent for a concession, but not offering reciprocation. So in the rules, it explicitly says conceding in exchange for anything. So I've got a couple examples that I would like to use. First, I'm going to use a Magic example, and then I'm going to use an Eternal example. So in Magic, there are situations where in the last round of a event before the cut to top 8, one person can be in contention for top 8 while the other person may not be in contention for top 8. So let's say I'm in contention for top 8. I sit down across from my opponent. I've done the math, and I'm hoping that they've done the math too. And I say, "I'm live for top 8. You are not. Will you concede this game to me?" I have not offered my opponent anything in exchange for this concession, and it's completely their call whether or not they concede to me. All I did was ask that they would concede to me. So that is an example of asking for a concession, but it not actually being by definition collusion. So
makes sense.
An example in Eternal terms would be if I have, and I want to try and use a more realistic example. So let's say you know somebody they're an acquaintance or something like that. So they're on your friends list or something, or you know each other through Discord, and you randomly, like very specifically, you randomly get matched into each other, and you ask each other what your records are. One of you happens to be live and the other one happens to not be live. The person that is still live, by definition, can ask the other person if they would concede to them, but that's all they can do. That's literally all you can say is, will you concede to me? Like that is it. That is like it's a very thin line. Like you can just ask for the concession. And if they decide that they don't want to concede to you, then that's it. You don't pursue it any further. But if they do concede to you, by definition, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I have conceded to people that I know before based on record, like not necessarily in Eternal, but in games.
I actually came up against this relatively recently when I went to the last SCG, Star City Games tournament for Magic Legacy. I played in a bunch of side events, and I was going to be first, and the person that I was playing against was going to be like third if they lost or something. I don't remember exactly what that part of the situation was, but I was going to, earn more money, and the person across from me knew more about this than I did. I'm just like, I want to play this game. He was definitely like a tournament grinder, and he said, yeah, so the way that they have these prizes is if he concedes to you, you get more than if you both agree to split. Because like the prizes, if you split, were like 200 and something, but if you win, you got like 250. So it was the sticky situation was I couldn't say, hey, I will give you half of the winnings if you concede to me. That would be collusion.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So
I was really worried where you were going to go with that for a second.
Right. No. So what happened was the guy who noticed this situation, he came over and sat down and told the other guy what exactly, what was going on. I didn't say a word. Like he was just a straight up bro. He was like, if if this happens, and you guys, decide to split the winnings, then you'll make more money this way. And I said, would you like to concede to me? And he said, yes.
Okay.
And then afterwards I went and did it, but I didn't know, at no point did I say, will you concede to me? I will give you the prizes.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very gray line. It's a dotted line that players in Magic, and I'm sure in Eternal, tiptoe here and there. Like it, and like I said, I don't really want to get into like ethically what people think. Like this is just simply a conversation about what is and isn't legal. Like that is all I really want to get into, because I know that a lot of people will go into, well, that's very ethically, like I don't like how like that is and everything. And it's just like, I think that it's a lot. Yeah, I think a lot of Magic players are a lot more okay with this, because splits happen all the time in Magic at every single level. People split at Friday Night Magic all the time. Like it's just normal. Right. It's a normal thing.
And ethics are different depending on who you ask. So that, that's opinions. That's fine for you to disagree. However, when we're talking about facts here, what is collusion, what isn't, there's no room for saying, no, that's, I mean, I guess there is room for it, but I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would love to hear, I would love to hear what your guys' opinions are on this, but I really don't like, if you have an opinion on this, let us know on the Discord, not necessarily on Reddit, because I'm not trying to start like Reddit flame wars over something like this. I know that I can infer that a lot of people's opinions is that it's unethical, no matter like just asking for a concession in general. So because of the way that people reacted to the way that whole thing went down. But like, so if you have a comment, let us know on the Discord. I would love to talk about it, as long as you're okay with having a discussion, like without like throwing insults. And I prefer it to be on the Discord because, frankly, on the Discord, if you're being an asshole, I can ignore you much easier.
All right. Well, with all that said, let's move on to topic 4. Thank you, Onyx Ghost.
Hold on a sec. So because of time, we probably shouldn't go into this until next week.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, all right. Well, in that case, Onyx Ghost, I'm sorry to blue ball you, but let's let's hold off until next week for topic 4 here. That'll be the first thing we talk about.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely want to talk about this next week because I have a good feeling that this conversation is going to take us a little while. I think that power management and deck building and deck tuning is something that is very important, just as much as Onyx believes is very passionate about this topic as well. And I don't think that we would do it any justice if we sat here and
Tried to cram it in.
tried to cram it in like 10 minutes because we could very easily spend 20 minutes on this topic.
Easy. Yeah. All right. So why don't you tell us about your average brew of the week?
All right, so the average brew of the week this week is Green Kennedans via Bassoon Buffoon. Now, I'm pretty sure that BB isn't the person that came up with this list. I think it was originally an Onyx Ghost list, actually, that BB and a couple other people changed a lot of cards to. So it's not quite the same deck that Onyx had come up with, but it's still a pretty sweet deck, and I definitely wanted to highlight it. So it is a Kennedans deck that splashes justice for, the
Korovyant Palace.
Yeah, the palace. Like that's literally it. That's the only justice card in the entire deck. And
it does also run Honor the Claws, which is one of the new cards. I mean, it's just a phenomenal draw spell. But yeah, other than that, it is basically the regular Kennedans list that you'd normally see, except it's got Palace in it. So, yeah.
I mean, there's really not I'm sorry. There's really not a whole lot we can talk about because it's pretty much a normal Kennedans list.
The only other splash of justice is the Vision of Austerity in the market, which I think was kind of a nod to the Rats deck, but could also be a nod to, Temporal or literally anything else. But I like to think that it was a nod to Rats. And for anyone who actually saw him on stream the other day, he was playing this deck and he went up against somebody else who had Kaifus, and he top decked, like on the last turn before he died, he top decked an End of Hostilities. So he got to get 2 Kaifuses, which not only had the 3 abilities that their Kaifus already had, but also got 3 more random abilities. It was amazing.
Oh, so the reason that he got 2, actually the biggest reason, because he didn't have Combustion Cell at that point, from what I understand. He went to Mirror Image one of his Grenadins, and his opponent torched it in response, which gave him the tribute that allowed him to make 2 Kaifuses.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, like I think it was the only Grenadin on board, so maybe it was correct for his opponent to make that play. But like that was a really risky play, and literally like is what ended up winning BB that game. It was the deck is really cool. I've always wanted to play Kennedans. It's so much fun. I never bothered to make the cards for it, but like watching BB play this version of Kennedans, oh my gosh, Palace is just such a good fucking card.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because you Palace, you make one of your, even if you make one of your Grenadins tiny, then you just make a copy of it with all the different mirror images and the peaks in the market. Man, it's I guess there's mirror image in the peak, I guess, but End of Hostilities does it.
Yeah, so definitely I will try to make sure that I include that link for everybody. And so why don't you tell us about the 2 brewskis that you brought for us this week?
So I had a friend over, and I went down and I grabbed a couple of beers. One of them was called La Fin du Monde, which is French for the end of the world. It's a little tradition between the 2 of us where whenever one of us gets, breaks up with their significant other, the other person buys them a La Fin du Monde, telling them, it's not the end of the world. We're going to drink the end of the world. It's not a big deal. And through that entire beer, they get to talk all about the relationship. And then after that, no more. it's a really cool tradition that we do. So that was one of the beers that we got.
Mr.
And
Shark
then,
left you?
No, it wasn't me. Pretty sure that it's only gonna be me buying Leffington from now on. But I bought a sampler from Saranac Brewing Company, which is located in upstate New York, which is kind of where I'm from. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't realize they had this down here. But I got a couple of different IPAs in here. One of them is just the 100 series IPA. It's got a little hop thing on the front of it there. It's green. It's very, very good. I enjoy it. It's a little light in the alcohol content, 4% for an IPA. But the other one is the Summer Haze IPA. It's got like a bear going fishing with sunglasses on. I don't know. I really dig this one. And it was 5.9% alcohol. Very tasty, very fresh, summery. Definitely check those out.
All right, nice. I'll have to see if my local stores got them.
All right, and then why don't you introduce us to the streamer of the week?
So the streamer of the week is Yotabite. I know that's super unoriginal, but
wait, who's that?
Yotabite is the biggest. Well, the biggest Eternal streamer. So if you're hearing about Yotabite for the first time here, I would like you to go ahead and message how you heard of us, because I have no fucking idea how you've heard of us, but not Yotabite. But the biggest reason I wanted to give Yotabite the shout out this week, other than the fact that he's a cool bro that always seems to interact with me whenever I want.
He is a frisky dingo.
Yeah, he is. His card, we covered it a couple weeks ago. It is it's a Blitz potential card. So I'm going to go ahead and throw up the card for our video watchers, but this is the original version of it. Now it's gone through some iterations from what I understand, and it sounds like it's gotten better than what it is here. But it's a Blitz card, and if you know anything about Shark and I, we are Blitz aficionados. We love Blitz. Blitz is something that I'm very much hoping that the JPS faction is geared towards once Set 6 comes out. Like, I would love to see some more Blitz playables. I want Blitz to be very good. Unfortunately, though, cards like Hojin being good makes Blitz that much worse. But yeah, we can't really help that out. So if you haven't, I don't really know what else I can say here, because I can almost guarantee you anybody listening to this knows who Yotabite is. So just go to twitch.tv/Yotabite, and that's the O is a 0 if you don't know. Yeah,
the Y0TTABYTE. That's Yotabite. So, yeah. So that's about it. He's a great dude. Go see him.
Yeah, for sure. So if you have any questions or topic suggestions, please leave a comment on the Reddit thread or on the Discord. Next week, we will have 2 user-submitted topics that we'll be talking about, primarily, Onyx Ghost, his topic, and then also Gizmosis. Yeah, that's one of your bros up there, right?
That's my literal brother, yeah. Brother.
Okay. So he gave us a really, really good topic that I didn't want to try and cram in this week, because I think that may take longer than our topic from Onyx. So hopefully next week, we will skip over most of the tournament type stuff, and we'll get right into that so that we can focus on that. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Shark and I are trying to keep these episodes a little bit shorter. We realized when we were going through spoiler season that our episodes were getting awfully long, and that's kind of rough on... It's not that rough, but it's a little rough on us. But also, I know personally that long episodes can kind of turn off viewers, and the shorter episodes tend to get a lot more listens and clicks. So we're gonna try and keep them about 45 minutes apiece.
Yeah. All right. So where can they find you, Jay?
All right. So you can find me on Discord, on either Shark or Bassoon Buffoon's Discords. I am active every single day on those 2 Discords. And then on Twitch, you'll find me at JayOSU. I have been streaming a little bit, but it's not eternal. I've been playing Legacy Magic the Gathering cards. So if you enjoy Legacy, one of my buddies has pretty much every version of Delver that I could imagine playing other than Blue-White. So I've been playing some Delver on Delver Leagues. And then you can find me on Eternal JayMang Plus 8035. On Reddit, you can find me JayOSU. You probably came from the Reddit thread, so you probably already know that. And then on Twitter at JayOSU, I'm toying around with the idea of maybe tweeting whenever these episodes go live from my personal account, because I really don't want to go through the trouble of making an account for the podcast, and I don't really use my account anyways.
Yeah, dude, do it.
So where can they find you, Shark?
All right. So the best place to find me between episodes, between streams, is on my Discord, and Jay's going to post the link below. You can also find me on Twitch as TallSharkandHandsome. You can find me on Eternal as TallSharkandHandsome plus 4960. On Reddit, TallSharkandHandsome, and on Twitter at SharkandTall, because TallSharkandHandsome would fit.
All right, perfect. So that is the end of episode 10. So we made it through 10 episodes. Hey, and people are still listening, so we must be doing something right.
Or you guys are crazy.
Yeah. So let us know what you think, and stay average, guys.